Welcome back to the Primal Reset podcast. We're joined today by Jeremy. I'm going to butcher that name. Tell me the name.
Malecha.
Okay. We're joined today by Jeremy Malecha, the CEO and the co-founder of Biocanic, a cutting-edge health intelligence platform designed for functional medicine and integrative health practitioners. Jeremy has over 20 years of experience in healthcare technology and has helped pioneer the integration of lab data, wearables, and personalized health insights to empower both practitioners and individuals. Jeremy, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Share with me your story and dive in how you got into the wellness industry and how you started Biocanic.
Yeah, so my background's biomedical engineering, so I've always been super involved in health and medical. I actually got into medical school, but I wanted to be an MD PhD. Didn't get into that part. I just got into the medical school part and then ended up going into industry. So I spent about 25 years in the traditional healthcare world. I was doing signal processing, machine learning for non-invasive cardiology. And then I got into product management. And then I led the connected devices initiative at ResMed, which is a sleep apnea company. So all sleep apnea devices called CPAPs are cloud connected. And then that led into having a telemedicine platform to monitor the devices. And then we acquired EMRs beyond that. So we ended up building the software as a service portfolio for ResMed, which really focuses on post-acute care. So things like skilled nursing, DME, home health. So I had a really broad-based experience in electronic medical records. But personally, I was seeing my own health decline. So think about late fees, early fees. I thought I was doing all the right things and doing all the right directions, but, gluten-free, organic, sober-tober, all that stuff. But my health was going in the wrong direction. So my wife, who's a practitioner, I was her first guinea pig client, kind of went through the whole process. I had, I was tracking my information in an Excel spreadsheet, PDF documents, a Dropbox folder. I had my wearables. I'm trying to track and correlate. And it wasn't until one particular specialty test called a Dutch test or advanced hormone test, her medical director kind of gave me the insight like, hey, his estrogen's really high. You should consider doing a ketogenic diet. Ended up going that route, not knowing I was reactive to beef, but then ultimately figured that part out and then lost 40 pounds in about 3 months. And so It was a health transformation. I feel healthier now at 48 than I did at 28. And so that was really the inspiration, was really kind of watching my wife struggle as a practitioner with all this kind of rich and robust information. But more importantly, as an end user client, like I was drowning. I didn't know what meant what or why. So we really built a technology platform from the ground up for this type of personalized health, but personalized health is delivered over time. So traditional medical records are really built for insurance, single care, go see your primary care, refer, prescribe, and bill. And our customers were trying to use that in this model. So we really kind of took that model and turned it 90 degrees. And it's been really fun because we're just, layering in tech and solving problems in a really cool environment. And one of the great things about what we do is we help our practitioners scale and be clinicians. They're driving better outcomes. So it's a business where all the incentives are aligned. We feel good about what we're selling and the things that we're doing, and our customers are doing great things for the end user.
Yeah. And you guys are doing, you're helping over 1,000 practitioners, and it's remarkable what you guys are doing. Mm-hmm. And I love the story almost every time I have someone on the podcast. And I say this every time as well, but everyone that gets into the wellness industry, whatever they may do for the wellness industry, tends to have their own personal story and own struggle that they had gone through, enters the wellness industry as a service approach of, I don't want to see other people go through the same thing. And So I'm going to create a solution or help in any sort of way where I can service the people that are looking for a better health and a better life, which however they may look like for them. So I love what you guys are doing. I love the mission behind Biocanic as well. And you guys are already super big into it and only getting bigger as well.
Yeah, it's really fun industry just because it's cutting edge, it's personal, you connect with people all the time. I was just at a conference with about 100 other health and wellness founders. And just as you say, everybody has their own journey and their own passion for why they're in the industry. And there are some bad actors in our space, of course there are, but in general, everybody is in it for the good of humanity and trying to change where we're at, today as a society globally.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to the point of some people being a bit ill-mannered,
Mm-hmm.
there is some information out there it's either ill-mannered or it's very generic and not very personalized, not very specific to everyone, and kind of having that struggle with people don't really understand their own bodies and understand that people are different. Beef is great for some people, but beef could
Right.
not be great for others.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest health myth that you see that people are believing in 2025?
Yeah, I think and I think this actually even in the age of AI and Chat GPT, it's still the same thing, is that there's going to be the one thing. And there's a one size fits all approach that is going to work for an individual. And that just is not the case. My individual health journey will not work for anybody else because I have different genes, I have a different lifestyle, I live in a different city, I drink different water, I eat different food. All of that stacking effect is what makes me who I am today. And so even if you go ask ChatGPT about what a blood biomarker works, that yes, you could get clinical information about that, what that means, but that is not relative to you, right? So is my LDL, am I on a statin? What's the macro composition of the food that I'm eating? How am I working out? What is my genetic predisposition for, detoxing LDL or utilizing LDL, right? And so it doesn't, there's this myth that somehow that we can just figure it out and you're going to get that one aha moment from the outside. But at the end of the day, it really takes context. And context is so individualized that it really still takes a human to be able to understand, okay, what are the big levers that we can move? Yes, you could start taking a probiotic, but if you don't know what your probiotic status is, how do you know that probiotic is going to work? How do you know that probiotic is any good? And that's why I still think it's a very personalized industry. Technology and tools is going to make it simpler and easier to operate and more efficiently to operate and deliver it at scale, but it's still never going to take away that human interpretation to determine what the best course is for you as a person.
Absolutely. I mean, integrating technology is something that allows us to have the possibility to make everything more
Yeah.
personalized and come up with these plans a bit better. But like you said, like the humanity of it and having someone who's gone through the similar experience or has dealt with many patients in the
Right.
same aspect of, hey, like we're going to make sure that we're going to find out
Mm-hmm.
exactly about your own body and figure out what will actually work for you and what probiotics and what supplements there are already out there, or is there something else that we need to take into account that might work better for you? And a lot of it's trial and error as well, but it kind of follows up to my next question. With someone that's trying to optimize their health using data, where
Mm-hmm.
should they start? What's the first step?
Yeah, I mean, so the first step is always getting objective metabolic data. The challenge is I think people still have a dependency thinking that they can get it through insurance. Stop that thinking. You're going to be better off paying out of pocket than you think about the time value of money to booking and scheduling with your primary care. By the way, your primary care is now incentivized not to give you access to the broad-based metabolic data. So you get a small subset of data that's not really useful, and then you have to go get more data. There's plenty of consumer platforms out there today, Superpower, Function Health, Everlywell. There's a lot of great opportunities to get that base level of information at a cost effective price point. Most of it can be covered under FSA and HSA. So just forget about the insurance based system on the health optimization side. Never going to go anywhere. And it's just a waste of your time. The next level is to start to connect with thought leaders in the space, right? AKA influencers. I hate to use that term because influencers a little bit, has a little bit of stigma to it, but there are a lot of great clinicians out there that are sharing great information. And one of the things about really improving your health is finding who's going to resonate with you, right? So some people may resonate, and I'm going to use big names. Somebody resonates with an Andrew Huberman. Some people can't stand Andrew Huberman because he talks fast and he talks too deep and too clinical, right? So then there may be somebody out there, right? And so like my wife, who's a practitioner, focuses on hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, talking to women who are trying to get health optimized and get the best out of their life. So find that person who resonates with you, because that's going to be your accountability in making sure that you're making the right steps and staying on track along the way. Those are the components. And then I think one of the things that people really need to kind of step back and say, In 2017, when I hit 240 pounds, which I call it the worst day of my life, right? Seeing those numbers on a scale, like you're 210, 215, 220, 222, 227, 230, 232, right? How much would I pay to not have hit 240 5 years earlier, right? If I could have known what I know now 5 years early, what would I have paid? I would have paid anything for that, right? And I think people are, hesitant, to make the investment. But then the cost trade-off is what is the cost of not doing that? And I think we're starting to see that. I jokingly call it the Joe Rogan effect. He has a comedian on. They talk about blood testing and where your hormones at and diet and carnivore or whatever. But I think people just really need to say, you know what, I need to make the investment. I need to make the commitment, because at the end of the day, there's only one person who is committed to getting you healthy, and that's you, right? And so you can't just sit and wait and hope that somebody's going to tell you the right thing. You have to invest in yourself if you want to get the health optimization.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with that. I love that you use the word investment. And I always say this to all my friends and everyone that I speak to. For me, and it's your health is an investment. It's if you think about it, if you buy a sweater or jacket or whatever it may be, let's say it costed $1,000. Okay, that's an expensive jacket, right? But if you were to wear that jacket 100 times, okay, it's less than $1,000 every time you wear it now. If you were to wear it once, it's $1,000. If you were to wear it 1,000 times, you're spending $1 every single time that you wear that jacket. It's worth the investment at that point. And same way that we have to think about our health. And I think it's starting to come more that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not quite there, but I think we are getting there. Where people are like, hey, if I want to feel great for the next 50 years, maybe it is worth it to come out of pocket, pay a little bit of money so I can feel great for the next 50 years. I can look at myself in the mirror every day, be happy to see what I see back in the mirror, and be happy with myself. And it's not necessarily to say that everyone needs to be super fit or look like a supermodel or bodybuilder. It's whatever your goals may be. Hey, if you're 240 and you want to lose 20 pounds, maybe that 20 pounds for the next 40 years, you might gain more than 40 pounds in the next 40 years. So if we can figure out now, hey, this is what my body looks like, this is the steps I'm going to take, it's an investment to go there, because you're going to use it every single day, 365, for the next however many years that you want to live or that you can live, and we don't know what's going to happen the next day. But for me, it's always an investment. And the biggest point that I always put is I'd rather spend the money now than to feel better, to look healthier, to et cetera, than in 5, 10, 20 years, pay a $500,000 hospital bill because I don't feel good. I've got disease somewhere. I need to get surgery for something, a life-saving, whatever it may be. Like, now I'm in the hole when I could have spent half of that price, or even less than half of that price, a fraction of it, to not have that happen and almost prevent myself from ending up in the hospital with some sort of medical condition. So that's always, I love the way you use investment as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, people aren't always, you can't, not everybody's needs or wants to be 6% body fat and totally yoked, right? That's not the aspiration. The aspiration is here, not waking up with brain fog or headaches, right? Being able to be attentive, right? And present with your kids, right? And being able to, not that I have kids, but if I had kids, right? My, 12-year-olds playing baseball, being able to throw the ball, chase them on a football field, train with them, right? What's that value mean to you? And I think at the end of the day, anybody's like, oh, I would definitely pay for it. I think the challenge is the lack of certainty that I'm going to get an ROI. Well, look, it's the number one investment you can make, regardless of your financial. If you have health and happiness in your long term, even if you don't have the money, you're going to have a much more fruitful life, right?
Absolutely. And we see it. I mean, we could talk about this so much, and we see it in almost everything. But what we don't realize is we think about wealth or rich as in financially. And what most people don't realize is if you haven't seen the world, I mean, America is the wealthiest country. And the reason why I say that is, yes, our health isn't the best, but we all have roofs over our head, or most of us do. We can afford some sort of food, whether it's a McDonald's or a high-end steakhouse, whatever it may look like. But we have our health. We're living every single day. And regardless of what point you're at financially, there are people dying every single day in every single country. So if you have your health, if you wake up, I mean, that's wealth to me. You have an opportunity to create something for yourself if you can wake up the next day. No matter if you feel that brain fog or you don't feel great or if you feel phenomenal, whatever it may look like. But we always associate it with financially. And I'm like, the first step is yourself. You talk to any millionaire, any
Yeah.
billionaire that will give you financial advice, and they go, what's the first thing that I should do? What's the first step? Invest in yourself, learn, read. And I think promoting that awareness right now to get people to understand what is out there for their health and the investment that should be there is definitely something that I think we're on the cusp of reaching out to everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
A question that I got for you is, what is one thing that you've changed in your personal health routine outside of the beef that has made the biggest impact?
So I originally, when I was working as an executive, I used to not believe in sleep. I used to jokingly say I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's kind of hilarious because my wife used to like give me hell about it. If I have when my wife leaves town and I have I have the house to myself, it's me and the dog, I'm going to bed at like 8 o'clock. And if I had to rewind that 10 years ago, be like, the wife's out of town, let's meet up with some buddies, go to the bar, be out till 2 a.m. That's literally the last thing that I want to do. I'm going to take this opportunity to go to bed even earlier than I would otherwise, which I think is hilarious, given the lifestyle that I used to live.
That's great. That's great. It's great to see. It's funny. I'm somewhat the same way, and I'm definitely on the younger side.
Yeah.
But for me, like going out to bars and staying up late I'd rather sleep. To be honest with you, I'd rather go to bed earlier. And if I have a night in, I'll watch a movie, probably fall asleep in front of the TV, and get a good night's of sleep. That's what I enjoy as well. So I love that.
Yeah.
When we were talking about wearables and all this tracking, all this data and new technology coming out every single day, what do you think the future of lab testing and wearables be? Will we be monitoring our health 365?
I mean, to a certain extent, yes. And I think there's a certain amount of biofeedback that's important, right? So let's say you get an Oura ring, you start tracking your sleep score, you have one of those late nights where you are out late drinking, and then you get a terrible sleep score and you feel how bad you feel in the morning. And you start to create this reinforcement loop where you start connecting the dots on where I feel great in the morning versus in my sleep score and everything else. And then at some point, you don't really need the tool anymore to tell you where you're at. Right. So there's like a base level of learning. So I do think there are things that will come to market that will be advantageous. Continuous glucose monitoring. You may not have to have a CGM patch anymore. You may be able to do it through a watch, through a wearable. So now you can get that biofeedback. But even people, our patients in our industry, don't wear a CGM 100% of the time, because what happens is they learn exactly what works for them. And they also know when they feel bad that my glucose went way high because even though it was gluten-free, I had the rice noodles from the Thai restaurant, right? And so you don't necessarily need to know that all the time. There are things that I don't think will go away, like some of the testing, but some of the example testing, like mold and mycotoxins, a huge discussion point in the industry. You do need to get that baseline level. I don't think there's a business model in this world that's going to tell you your glyphosate levels through an Apple Watch of all the things that you can do, right? You can go to, cortisol testing, hormone testing, tracking and everything else. So there always is going to be a space. I think what's really exciting is today for you to get a comprehensive view of yourself. You need your genetics, blood chemistry, food sensitivity, microbiome information, environmental toxicity, advanced hormone testing, stool microbiome, right? So you have a lot of testing. Where I think this will go is the ability to eliminate the need for additional testing. So you may simplify, instead of taking 6 tests to get the most comprehensive view of your health, you can get down to 4 because maybe 2 correlate with each other that can easily predict a marker in that 3rd test. That's where I think the cost is going to come down. Amount of data in a given test becomes more simplified and more affordable. We're not there yet. That data, we're in the process of building those data sets. We're probably a few years off to get it powered enough where you can reasonably assume that prediction can happen. And I think that's really the future of lab testing. So now you can say, oh, well, if we took this blood marker, this stool microbiome marker, now we can predict your environmental toxicity, and you no longer need that test anymore. And I think that's the exciting near-term future. And then I think the next layer on that is more predictive, right? Can we actually say what's the causal, rather than just the correlation of these 2 markers are correlated with migraines or autoimmunity? What is a causal marker for why you have that that thing, that causal approach to kind of recommendations, interpretations, decision support, that's really where I think it gets really exciting. The thing you have to remember is you can create causal recommendations for electronic circuit boards and everything because you have controlled systems. With humans, we're chaotic, right? Even language models have rules and structure and consonants and vowels, and there's rules there. There are no rules in the human body. So the amount of data that we're going to need to get there is a lot. But I think that's the exciting and the fun stuff if we start like truly starting to uncover those insights. I think that'll be a fun day.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's definitely I like the sound of that, not having
Yeah.
more and more and more tests,
Yeah.
um, and kind of condensing that and making it a bit more efficient as well. What do you think about, and I wanted to ask your personal opinion about
Mhm.
this, wearing an Apple Watch or a Whoop band or anything like any of those wearables that we have nowadays, wearing that 24/7, is that necessarily always safe with all of the, frequencies that are running through it constantly and having our bodies affected? Is that something safe, or should we try at least to take a little bit of that off?
There's it's interesting because I was just at that founder conference with other health and wellness people. A similar gentleman had he was an engineer, was worried about EMFs with his kids, and so he's now got I think his company is called Wave Block. So I actually just got the Wave Blocks. It's a sticker that goes on the back of your phone. He got it for the laptop. He said the actual like the Whoop and the Fitbits aren't bad. He said the Apple Watch is insanely bad for you
Interesting.
based upon his testing. And I think that's largely because if you look at like a Whoop or a Fitbit, it's basically a light sensor or a photoplethysmography device. So it's fairly low power. When you start looking at something like or like even my Garmin, which is over here, it's just got that same kind of light in the back. The issue with the Apple Watch is like you have EG or a cellular chip. It's constantly in Bluetooth communication. It's visualization. It's got a color, so there's a whole lot more going on in there. And so he's trying to figure out a way to figure out an EMF blocker for it. So the short answer is, yeah, Apple Watch, not so good for you. The other stuff, probably okay.
All right, all right. Yeah, I spoke with actually a company who develops EMF protection,
Mm-hmm.
wear for laptops, bags, phone cases, whatever you may think. Honestly, I went to their warehouse. They have everything. And like I've gotten more into the EMF side of
Yeah,
things, and I was just wondering. My friends wear their Apple Watch constantly. I mean, when they're
yeah,
asleep, when they're awake, it's 24/7. And I've always wondered, like, there's no way that can be good for you. You
yeah,
got to put your phone away at bed at least. Why would you not do the same for the watch? And the Samsung watch and all these smart
yeah,
watches that are coming out constantly, where they're connected to Bluetooth alone,
yeah.
causes so much EMF radiation that there's no way that can be good for you. So I was just
Yeah.
curious about your opinion on that one.
When my wife started in this industry, I called it woo woo, and now I'm a founder building a business in the space. So clearly,
Yeah.
my opinion has changed over time. There is some data related to like mold toxicity that mold spores are actually activated by EMF. So you don't have to go way down the rabbit hole of EMFs and everything else related to causing cancer. But there is like clear. So if you do have like mold toxicity potentially exacerbated by EMFs, the one thing that I always say to my friends is to test it out. If you charge your phone on your nightstand at night, take one night and just put it in the other room, right? And just test and just say, okay, did my dreams change? Did my sleep state change? How refreshed do I feel in the morning? And everybody notices a difference. So I actually don't charge I've always been going into airplane mode, but I used to charge on the nightstand. Now I just leave it in the kitchen. And I actually have noticed a difference in my REM sleep. And so it's kind of a new habit that I do. Maybe it's EMFs, maybe it's psychosomatic. I don't know, but I definitely feel like I sleep better. And the other thing is like, I don't really need to know if somebody's texting me at 2 a.m. So why does it need to be by my bedstand?
Absolutely. And I would say I would take it a step further for the wearables and say do the same thing for that. You
Yeah.
know? And I tell all my friends the same thing. I'm like, listen, like a lot of people have TVs in the room. I have a TV in my room. I try to limit the amount of technology that is next to me while I'm trying to sleep. It is astronomical to how much deeper sleep I've gotten when I put my computer, my phone, and everything outside of my room
Yeah.
and let it charge overnight. And like you said, like I don't need to look at a text at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And
Now, for the parents out there, I can understand having a phone next to you in case your kid is in trouble or something. The call is going to come at
right.
2 a.m. and you need to be there to pick it up. Try not to have it charged next to you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. Put it on the night, or
Across
the
the
put it
room.
on the dresser across the room or something, or just don't have it charged next to you. Try to limit it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But to the fact of Biocanic, share just a short 30-second clip, what you guys are doing exactly, and who can actually look for more information for you guys and get some of your help.
Yeah. So we are a health intelligence platform for functional, integrative, holistic, personalized health practitioners. Most people go, okay, what's health intelligence? So health intelligence is all we're doing is we're centralizing all the information for anybody who is a practitioner working with clients. Our value proposition is practitioners today, if you have multiple lab tests, you have to open a million PDFs and different windows and the Aura dashboard and all this other. So we're a one-stop shop for practitioners to work with their clients. So our whole goal is to help them be efficient so they can scale and see more of their clients or patients. Where we're going is we're now going to help them also understand their broader information. So right now, when a practitioner works with an individual, they have data on that one individual, right? But wouldn't it be nice if, let's say I'm working with entrepreneurs who are male between the ages of 45 and 55, and what's the average total testosterone and free testosterone of my population? How does this next patient look relative to the people I normally serve? That's really where we're going. That's what I call the fun stuff. Being a biomedical engineer is starting to really hyperscale our individual practitioners. And so what we want to do today is we kind of operationalize them. We help them with marketing. We do their business automation so they can be a clinician. But now it's like, how can we actually surface even more information, right? So eliminate the need to go to PubMed, eliminate the need to go search for information. This person came in with cryptosporidium on their microbiome test. What does that mean? How do I treat it? What should I do? Just completely taking off that table, surfacing insights, saying, oh, hey, here's a recommendation that worked for similar people like Jeremy who had this particular issue. Was this helpful or not? That's really where we're going with the platform. And I think that's the really kind of fun stuff. So for any practitioners that are, struggling to scale, wanting to become practitioners in the space, we're here. We're building a community. So we try to connect all of our practitioners so they have support structures. They have an audience that they can build to where they can, partner with practitioners, do podcasts like this, share each other's messages, and then promote each other's messages. So we're really here trying to build a movement around getting this industry into the mainstream. We're Biocanic, Biocanac. It comes from the idea that we're the biology mechanic. So the idea you take your car to a mechanic, they plug it in, it tells you what's wrong. That was the inspiration for the name. It's also trademarkable. So we're biocanic.com. All our information is out there. And then, we just love meeting and connecting with practitioners. And even if, it's not something right for you right now, come into our community, learn from us. We're always, sharing thought leaders, business approaches, clinical information. So it's a really, really good place to be.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'll have all that information in the description below as well. But Jeremy, it was a pleasure to have you on the show today. We'll hopefully have to do this again in the future, but thank you so much for joining.
Awesome. This is great. I really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out to me directly for anybody out there. I'm available at Biocanic on the socials. I'm on LinkedIn, so just shoot me a message.